Peter Hitchens, columnist of the Mail on Sunday, who I think has probably seen enough of the Tory party and the Labour Party over the years, wrote about reform this week. Peter, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, so where are we, for heaven's sake? Because we've got a party in government but not apparently in power, a Prime Minister who doesn't seem to be able to control his own backbenchers and is basically doing everything at their whim. And we've got a sort of a nation which is crumbling around its very edges, isn't it?
Indeed, we are up the famous creek without the famous paddle. and there we are, and there we remain, because partly because of so many years of very, very bad government under both Labour and Conservative. We know from the extraordinary revelations of Andrew Neither, which I still think a lot of people don't even know about, back I think 2009, that the Labour Party had an actual purpose in encouraging large-scale migration under the Blair regime. And the view of the left has for a very long time, it certainly was when I was a revolutionary socialist back in the 70s, that it wasn't, we wanted large-scale immigration not because we particularly liked migrants, but because we didn't like Britain very much. And we saw this as one way in which to change it. And I think the left still very much has that view. And then we have the enormous and still not fully understood legal changes, particularly the adherence to the Human Rights Act and it's bringing into British law, and the revolution in the appointment of judges and the creation of the Supreme Court, again under the Blair regime, which have made it extraordinarily difficult, even for quite a resolute government based on Parliament, to do very much about it. And the international treaties which we have signed and which we are bound by. And then you add to that this appalling mixture, the crazy repeated decisions of governments in this country and in the United States particularly to support and fuel very dangerous wars in parts of the world, which have resulted in turning the Mediterranean into a sort of liquid motorway, by which migrants fleeing from the areas where we started the wars or from general poverty and misery are coming to Europe in unprecedented numbers. There has been, since the great movements of population, probably about 1,500 years ago, there has been nothing like this level of migration in the history of Europe. And it's very, very hard for any individual government, however resolute, and we haven't had a resolute government in this country for as long as I can remember, to do very much about it. And we can all sit and fume. But if you were actually put, if you or I were actually put in the Prime Minister's desk in Downing Street this afternoon and given all the powers of that office, you would still struggle to actually do anything about it because of the great spider's web of restrictions on what you could do. And here we are. And I'm very sorry about it. And I have to be able to claim that many of these mistakes were things that I warned about at the time. And as I say, the thing which keeps me happy is the constant opportunity I have to say, I told you so. But that's virtually all the consolation I can offer you. I told you so, and you probably told people so as well. At the very time.
And
but
unfortunately,
it doesn't make any difference because it is so huge and has so many elements to it that there is no civilized way that I can see, and I've really, really racked my brains for this and gone into it in quite a lot of detail. There's no civilized way in which we can stop it, and no way at all, I think, in which it can be reversed.
I mean, watching what happened in America under Donald Trump, which you might not wish to sort of echo, was they sent sort of gangs of armed police and militia types into neighbourhoods and rounded loads of people up, put them on planes and flew them back to wherever they thought they came from.
But Mike, let's see how that ends.
I don't think we could really do that, could we?
No, we couldn't do that because of the treaties we're signatory to. But also there is another point here. When I was living in the US in the early 1990s, the conservative movement in that country was gravely split between the free marketeer sort of Thatcherite Reaganites who wanted to encourage large-scale migration, mainly in those days from Latin America, and the defeated minority who said this was a bad idea. An awful lot of conservatives have been in favor of what they call free movement of people as part of their free market libertarian ideology for a long time. So people who thought the conservative parties might protect them from this huge change in their lives were gravely mistaken. They didn't want to, and they haven't. And although you can point the finger at the Labour Party over mass immigration over the past 25 years quite a lot, you can also point it very much at the Cameron government, which was, in my view, another New Labour government, but it pretended to be a Conservative government, the migration under them went up enormously, and that was legal migration, leaving aside the thing which, obviously, because we see the outrage of people daily arriving on our southern shores without any attempt to prevent them or anybody being able to think of any way of stopping it. But the legal migration is colossal, and it changes the country. And how can I put this? Migration can be good for a country, but it has to be under control. We have to be able to decide who comes here and who doesn't, and also it has to be at a pace where we're able to integrate people and persuade them to adopt our way of life, to learn our language. If you have it on this scale, the migrants change the country rather than the country changing the migrants, which I'm sorry to say is just the wrong way around.
Yeah, it really is. And it's so noticeable now. And, I think it really is, and I don't think it's just me, it's definitely in the last sort of 2 years or so that it's got sort of to critical mass, it seems to me, that, that you do actually, everywhere you go, notice that something's different.
Yes, I tend to agree with you there, but of course this isn't evident in the areas which I suppose you say people like me live in. They're still the prosperous and protected areas of the country. It doesn't feel that way, but if you venture outside those prosperous and protected areas, it is very evident, and there's a feeling of abandonment, I think, in large parts of modern Britain, which is very worrying and makes people discontented, and it makes them feel that nobody in government is serving them, and that is a dangerous situation for a country to be in.
Yeah. It really is, because we're going to see, I think, this weekend some big demonstrations of that kind of feeling. Peter, we've got to run because we're running short of time. Thank you very much indeed. Peter Hitchens, columnist at the Mail on Sunday. Mick says this: what odds will Templegate give that Trump will cancel his state visit due to Starmer's policies on Palestine and the freedom of speech problem? Absolutely right. And Dan in High Wycombe says, how about this for a Labour boy band, Simple Minds? Well, yeah. Absolutely. Coming up, we're going to talk to Julia Atherley, because there's a great story in The Sun about a terrorist, an evil terrorist, who started 7/7 and 9/11 and wants to be freed onto the streets of Britain. Brilliant. This is Talk.